additions or deletions to the agenda?
So moved. Yes.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And welcome everyone. Next, we'll look for a motion for the approval of the minutes of the November 23rd, 21 closed sessions and December 14th, 2021 regular meeting. Your pleasure. Motion supported. Any comments or questions, corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, those in favor will be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. Thank you. We have one communication from members of the public regarding conditional rezoning proposal for the Warwick Living Center. Your pleasure.
Move to receive.
Support.
And motion supported. Are there any comments or questions?
No idea where that came from?
Yes.
And we do have, there was a return address on the end.
Oh, was it? Oh,
The letter
okay.
wasn't signed. It's from
Okay.
M. Remsburg at 1350 Orchard.
Really? Oh, is that, okay, really? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Huh.
So I think we have a motion and support on the table. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. We've received the communication. Next, we'll move down to resolutions. We have consideration of a resolution to approve budget amendments as presented by Finance to allow for transfer of additional funds for hazard pay, allocations for internal service fund charges, updated depreciation projections, and correction of salary and benefits allocation in major and local street budgets. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
We have motion support. Eric, I believe you have background for us on this?
Sorry, our Finance Director Curtis Dancer could not be here tonight, so bear with me and I'll read through his explanation of each one of these amendments for you.
Okay.
Very good.
Amendment A, this is for the additional payroll taxes that were voted in on the November 9th commission meeting to bring the emergency management budget back into actual amounts incurred. Amendments B and C, when the original budget was adopted, it did not account for the internal service fund transfers for administrative services, finance, HR, and IT, or engineering costs incurred within the general fund to the appropriate enterprise funds. Therefore, the current budget is accounting for all these costs solely in the general fund. These budget amendments are to allocate expenditures to the appropriate enterprise funds based on the projections that were calculated from the combination of historical costs and the current year projections based on known charges. These amendments do not create additional expenses for the city, i.e. they're net zero. It is just to move them into the appropriate funds. Amendment D, Marilyn has been doing a lot of cleanup work in the fixed assets module to ensure that everything is recorded properly. In doing so, she was able to run new, more accurate projections for the depreciation for each fund based on data from the system. The new projections showed that we are under budgeted for depreciation in a couple of funds. So we are asking for budget amendment to bring the budgeted amounts up to the updated projection amounts. This does not affect our cash. Amendment E, similar to amendments B and C above, it was determined that the original budget was adopted. When the original budget was adopted, the salaries and fringe benefits for personnel working in the streets department were being allocated for in the Fund 692 Municipal Services, which is an internal revenues fund. But there were no amount budgeted to transfer these expenditures back to the major or local street fund. Therefore, the only amounts currently in the budget for major street and local street are costs for things such as materials, contract fees, capital improvements, etc. No personnel expenditures are currently budgeted for.
Whoops.
Yep. Again, similar to B and C, this does not affect does not create additional expenditures for the city as a whole. It just moves the expenditures to the appropriate funds.
Okay.
So this essentially is the net effect of truing our budget. So we will know more accurately where the money is going.
Yes.
It doesn't change the bottom line like that. It just tells us
Great.
when we start to plan a budget next year, This is what last year looked like, yes.
And it's best practices also that we do these amendments on a continual
Every
basis.
time.
Yes, yep, yep.
Comments, questions? Additional questions, I guess I should say. We're sorry. But please pass our appreciation on to Curtis and his team, because it appears, at least at this point, that we have a better process in place, and we're finding things as we go along and correcting things. So after numerous years of challenges in our budget, I would say, it's good to see things being caught as we go along rather than waiting for the auditor to rake us over the coals at the end of the year, so.
We seem to be much more on top of things than we
Yeah.
It's good.
So I think the team's doing a good job, I mean, from all appearances at this point, so our appreciation for that.
Yes.
Very much so. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor would be yes,
Yes.
Yes.
any opposed would be no, and that motion carries. Move down to ordinances, consideration of a resolution to introduce ordinance number 825 to amend section 60-60J4 to allow residential uses on the first floor of buildings in the B1 Central Business District, so long as they are not located in the front one half of the main ground floor apartment or ground floor adjacent to the street. Your pleasure.
Move to approve the introduction. It took me a little reading to make, it's it's like lawyer writing,
Yeah.
but it's the front half that faces Superior can't
It
be.
faces any street.
Any street can't
whether it's
be
side
a
street
living
or-
home. Okay, that's, okay.
Yep, for instance, like you talk about a corner lot, let's say the Opera Block, where Stucci's used to be, anything on State Street
Okay.
and Spear Street, it can't front
Good,
that street.
okay.
It'd have to be in more of the back
Okay.
units or the back section of the building if it was going to, if they were gonna do.
Be a living room, okay.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And this is the introduction.
This
This is the introduction, yes.
Yep.
And I know we talked a little bit about this because I have such a long history, and I'm sure you do too, Eric, of being preached at that this is a bad thing to do.
Yes, yeah.
But apparently the conventional wisdom has changed over the years, and this is
A bad thing to have ground floor
bad thing
apartments?
to have ground floor apartments on the
Okay.
main street during the business district period.
Okay.
It's always been preached that it's not a good thing
Why? Just curious.
because it eliminates the possibility that a business is going to go
Vendor,
in there.
right.
Okay.
And,
That'll buy.
you know, one concern I still have, I mean, I understand the thinking now that a lot of these stores that are 120 feet deep, it's hard to find a business that needs 120
I
feet
feel, yeah.
deep of a building.
Yeah.
The downside is, you know, do you cannibalize so much of your square footage in downtown that, you know, perhaps you lose some of your bigger buildings to this, or a good chunk of them, so that you can't even accommodate a larger business. Because it is so much more lucrative to have an apartment than it is to have, today at least, retail space. So there's a cost to doing this, and perhaps an unintended consequence down the road, so.
I always
Just something to
thought
think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's true, that was Main Street and everything telling us that for years, and now Main Street and MML,
Yeah.
through redevelopment ready communities, they are recommending this as something that communities should look at, so.
Yeah.
And so in theory, with the sides facing streets not being, that would be a business, and then a person would be living
Yeah.
behind a business.
Yeah. So kind of, in some ways, you're penalizing people that own corner property. I mean, if it's looked upon that way. If
Oh,
revenue per square foot is higher from the apartment than it is from retail or business space, then,
but you're keeping the availability of businesses for your downtown and
Yes.
having it not just
trying
be.
to maintain it as a
Right.
business
Yeah.
district, so.
Right. Good, well, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have comments or questions? Oh, we didn't have a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
So we do have a second, okay. Now, all those comments are replayed and, all right, thank you. Sorry about that.
I probably interrupted with questions, so.
No,
Those
it's
are good questions.
probably me. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, be no? All right. Moving down to agreements. Consideration of a resolution to renew a lease agreement with Dalton Properties LLC for the lease of cold storage space of property owned by the city of Alma, commonly known as 6524 North Jerome Road, for a one-year term beginning January 1st, 2022. Your pleasure.
Support.
Have a motion support, comments or questions?
This is just a yearly lease that we do, and we're doing it 1 year at a time because
In case
if everything takes off out lease, we don't want to have to break a lease with them. So they're comfortable with doing year to year, so that's what we've been doing.
So it's someone that's been doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've been there
This
for a
is-
long time?
Yeah, yes.
And the question popped up in my mind, and I went on the website and looked it up. That parcel remains in the township, right?
Down that side, I believe it is, yes, I believe it is.
And it looks from everything, the records I found, we're paying taxes on that.
I'll have to check with Kathy. I can't answer that, I don't know.
And I think we're paying taxes at just about the same amount as we're collecting in rent, so. I'd like to clarify what's going on there.
Okay. No, that's a good question. I'll speak to Kathy in the morning.
6524 North German.
So with that, I apologize for not bringing that up earlier.
No, no.
I forgot about it until just now. I looked it up a couple days ago when I first was doing this, and it slipped my mind.
That's a good question.
Who made the motion? Can you-
Michelle.
Michelle?
I did. Would you like me to,
Would you care?
would I care
It's not what I,
to,
it's not what I want. Would
would
you
I
care to
care
change or
change it so that we
withdraw,
can
or-
check it?
Yes. Would you care to change it or withdraw it?
I will withdraw my motion that I did. And then I will motion to table it until we get further information.
Okay, so who did the support? Is that,
Support.
that was you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're supporting the change to tabling it for the time being?
Do we have to put an end date for the table?
I'll have it back for your next meeting.
Yeah.
I'll have it back for your next
I
meeting.
just didn't know. if-
And, I mean, I'm sure they want an answer too.
Oh,
so.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so-
Why is that in the township?
That property was given to us from Total, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's part- yes.
Valero at the
Valero.
time.
Yeah.
Part of that. In fact, there's that whole parcel out there that,
I
I
thought
think
that
the
was,
Hoffman Road property and everything is.
It's all in the township.
Yeah, that's all township. We never transferred that in.
It's basically, it'll be a
Oh, okay.
425.
okay,
when
we
get-
own it, but it's not in the city.
And it's also not for being used for municipal uses, so it's not tax exempt. We're renting it out as income property, so.
Ew, okay, yeah.
But I'll check.
It's a wash. Our income is a wash with what we're paying in taxes, is what you found, perhaps?
Pretty close.
Perhaps, yes.
Perhaps, yeah. We'll check that.
I don't know for sure. That's the way I was looking at records, and I don't know for
Well,
sure.
good job
I didn't know that
investigating.
part out there was in the township.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a motion to table. I believe we're waiting for, if all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Thank you. Okay. Reports of officers, boards, and committees. We have the commissioners may receive the following reports by one resolution, or any commissioner may remove any item within the section for individual discussion and vote. We have reports from the Board of Review, December 14th, 2021. Building permits report for November 2021. The draft of the Planning Commission minutes of December 6th, 2021. The interim city managers, December 23rd, 2021 report. And a verbal report coming to us from the Solid Waste Task Force Committee. Your pleasure.
Eric, do you want yours pulled or are we good?
Nope, nope, I'm good.
I move to approve 1 through 4.
Okay. Support.
We have motion support. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. We have received those reports. And we entertain a motion for number 5.
So moved.
We have a motion support. I believe you want to give your report then?
Sure.
Is that you? I guess I
Yeah,
assumed it was
because
you, but.
Eric wrote a script for me, so really good. Yeah, Eric and I met with St. Louis City Manager and a Commissioner on the 20th of this month and talked about the upcoming bid for solid waste removal. It is really apparent to us that we will be using carts. That seems to be what's going on nationally, and folks will be doing that. 96-gallon cart to be picked up once a week. Some of the discussions were on recycling, and I know that city manager is working on a quick, 5-question survey about how often people will recycle, do they use it, what are our options to try to get some guidance with that. We talked about, instead of a 96-gallon cart, instead of a 2-gallon cart, maybe picking it up once every 2 weeks or once a month. so that it's not, the cost goes down, but you could then pick the recycling up, just the recycling.
Oh, just
Just
recycling,
recycling,
okay.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Isn't it down to 2 gallons
Like you get
twice? I'm
smaller-
sorry, 2 weeks?
smaller
I
bucket
don't
and you
think
do less
so.
often.
No, only recycling, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't follow you.
Let's back up the truck, okay. Once weekly for the 96-gallon regular trash. Recycling, do we want to do something a little different? There's some savings with that, and also other kinds of things in terms of where we are with recycling materials anyhow. We talked about leaving the pickup days the same, Monday through Thursday. Gave the vendor plenty of time. We talked about the length of contract, thought probably a 5-year contract with a year-to-year option for 2 years after that, so up to 7 before you go for a bid. Our thinking was you probably want to bid it once in a while, keeps folks honest, but if we're really satisfied, a 1 year, then another 1 year extension might work. Large item pickup is currently once a week, and it's picked up with the normal waste day. It's not been an ideal method from what we're hearing from folks. The truck runs out of room, sometimes they don't get back, sometimes stuff is not there, so looking at maybe picking a separate waste day for just that, or even doing it by appointment, saying we're going to do it in their neighborhood on Tuesday, call so folks know, or get online and tell us so they know what to do. So there's things we want to look at for those things. Other things, they're looking where the city manager in St. Louis is looking to get a couple sample RFPs, so we can look at what those look like, what other cities are doing, and we can then use that to draft our own. The timing of when we want to start the bid process is going to come up. And the last thing was kind of raised, when we've done a number of things, the commission sometimes doesn't always feel aware of it. And what's the will of the commission in terms of just, once we get a draft of the RFP, just a quick review, or somebody walking through what that looks like, so we have the things in there. So that's, Eric, did I miss anything?
Nick, you alluded to it. What is the status of recycling? Is anything actually recycled these days, or don't we know?
I remember a number of years ago, we talked about, I think it was called China Soar, when the Chinese government,
Stop.
who was the major purchaser of recycling goods in the world, decided to reduce the amount of purchasing they did. And it really created some issues. So I think things are being recycled. But as far as recycling goes, as I understand it, is they collect it, hold it until it's sellable, but they only have so much room to store it. And when they can, they have to take it to the dump. So that's what's going on.
Okay. So at least the intention is that it is getting recycled. I mean, there was talk at
what
one
are you
time,
recycling?
papers especially, newspapers and stuff, there was such a glut on the market that nobody wanted it. And it was,
They call it the incredible growing ton. If you
Yeah.
think about the plastic water bottles,
Yeah,
what they looked like 10 years ago and what they look like now, the volume that it takes for a ton of water bottles is simply larger. So there's lots to it. I think people like to do it, they feel good about doing it, but we have to balance that with cost and what's the reality in terms of what's recycled.
is it really worth it? Yeah. If it's all going in the same
And I
place.
think also getting people used to the idea of cards. The more we talk about it and start to get that information out, the less it will seem like a surprise if we do it, so.
And just for, because I know when our current contract was being negotiated, they were trying to push us towards carts then, and I think all of our vendors that we talked to at that point were also trying to push us towards carts.
Pretty much.
And we
yeah.
resisted that, but
The-
I suspect that all vendors now are still just saying, you will do carts then, that's what it
Yeah,
sounds like.
if it's kind of, I think where it is, I mean.
And carts allows them to mechanically pick it up, there won't be a gentleman or a person, should say
Reduce-
gentleman, man or woman, but
Yeah.
nobody's gonna be physically lifting that can up and,
And I'm not gonna remember this, but I think it's something like over a third of the drivers, truck drivers in the United States with the special driving license are over 55. And so we're looking down the barrel they're looking down the barrel of a labor shortage and other haulers.
Which has been the case this year.
Yeah, so.
You mentioned
that's
also
what it's-
the every other week. Is that to accommodate little old lady who puts out a,
That was for the recycling.
oh,
Just the recycling.
Oh,
It's
okay.
weekly for all the Usual trash would be weekly, Monday through Thursday.
Is there any concession being made for the person who has very little recycling?
You know, we didn't,
I was thinking maybe that could be every other week
I
or
don't think
something.
they-
no, what we would, I mean, I think what they're
Either run the
saying
truck or you
is,
do it all the time.
Yeah.
with the recycling, they were sending the same truck.
Have been, yeah.
There seems to, I don't know, I think the volume of recycling is typical. We have those,
Right.
the baskets, 72 instead of 96. 72 would probably handle it for over 2 weeks, if you think about how big those baskets are, how big a 72
Yeah.
gallon cart would be. I
But
think
no
that was the
no
assumption.
concession made for the little old lady with the one little 5-gallon pail every week of garbage.
There's no way to track that.
You call me a little old lady over there?
Yes.
You know, Roger,
I put out a
don't know
lot
how
of
you wanna
garbage.
customize it.
No, I don't
I mean,
know.
because
We had
to
that.
me, that's kind of what I don't know. I mean, there may, when we look at other RFPs, we can look at that, you customize it in some ways. I think, this is a very wild kind of guess, but you probably, because of the volume with the larger ones, it's gonna be a lower rate per unit. The savings won't be a one-for-one, I would assume. If you customize it, it may cost them per volume maybe 1.5 times as much as it would if they're using a 96. So that, I think I don't know. I don't know anything about the pricing. I think there's other ways to do it. When you think about 96, you think about this time of year, can people get tags, purchase tags at the city, or you can get up to 6 tags a year to put out more than you would have on a big day. And then, so there's methods to do that. I just don't know.
It's just, I think we're gonna need to be ready when we talk about, we're gonna be we're gonna need to be ready to be taking some heat from some people on that. When we go along and ask for what could possibly be an increase in price, and you need a bigger container, but I only have this little bag that I take out, and, why should I?
And I think
that's
that
hard to answer.
that argument is still there. I mean, we have a one-size-fits-all
Right.
trash collection, and the sizes are going to be different. The use is going to be different. We just need to be prepared for that and
Yep.
decide, or if there's ways to customize it. That's why I'd like to get the RFP back to this group. so
Good
we can
idea.
Have a chance
Good
to
idea.
talk about that. Feel free to email me the questions, and I can Eric, and we can bring up those questions when we meet again.
And it's like a definite change for our system one way or the other.
Yeah,
And, the downside of customizing it and getting people, you talk about the little lady or the single person living alone,
Right.
or even empty nesters now. We went from, we had a
5
house full of
cans.
kids and their friends, we were
Yeah.
putting 3 or 4 cans a week out.
Yeah, right.
We
Not
we
filled.
have half of one now, so
Yeah.
it's, some weeks, other weeks we have more, obviously, but the downside to try and customize it, everybody wants to pay the least amount, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I want to be a low volume purchaser, or purchase at low volume, but then what happens to that when I have excess? I don't want to pay extra for that.
Well, the driver's not gonna know that.
Yeah,
That's right.
And a drag, no, there's no, that's true.
626
There's
liter
no-
has 1 bag and 625 has 10
but
bags.
then you wind up with people looking for dumpsters around town to go through it, and somebody else, so, the store owner can pay, and, or large items, the same thing happens there, the couch winds up in the parking lot, or the park, or the schoolyard,
Yeah,
or,
sure.
so if you don't give them the option to get rid of that stuff,
They find a
you wind
way.
up paying for it
Right.
later, or could wind up paying for it later in another way,
So
so.
it's,
Oh, yeah.
you're right, it's not simple. So,
Yeah.
So we'll keep plugging away, but send us notes.
Yeah, the RFP is a good idea.
Anybody else have questions?
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, well, so we had a motion to receive the report. All those in favor be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed be no? Motion's carried. We've received the report. Thank you, Mr. Piccolo and Eric, for your work on that, and our friends in St. Louis for,
Yeah.
sounds like we're working well together and playing nice and all that good stuff, so good. A new business, consideration of a recommendation from the Personnel Committee to approve an increase in pay for Mr. Eric Ripley commensurate with his appointment to interim city manager.
Yeah, I can take it.
Yep.
I think we had a chance to talk, and I think some of the after we had our initial meeting, I think the general consensus in our group was to kind of split the difference in the pay range. After I got a chance to talk to Nick and then Greg, and then Michelle, I think another solution would also be starting Eric out at what he would potentially be if he were to retain the position. So essentially, our recommendation is twofold. It's either, A, you just, probably the simplest solution, find the median, take that middle range, and I'm trying to leave out just the exact number, but that middle range of what those two pay ranges are, or the other solution would be to figure out what, okay, if Eric were to take the position, this is what he would start out, and then we would just start that, which would make the transition probably a little bit easier, if that were to be the case.
Comments or questions? Comments, anyone? Well, I know Danny, and I appreciate, thank you for your work, and Michelle, and Roger was also on that. And one thing that a possibility did come up during our conversation, and I don't know exactly where you wound up after that, but the possibility of Eric, getting this, whatever the wage is now, and that's almost irrelevant to this thought, but the possibility that he would get a wage now and then take a pay cut after if he was to be appointed on a permanent basis, left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't think that's, it's kind of insulting to do to somebody. And I wouldn't want to see us do that. So I don't know what your recommendation would be to.
That was that second part of that recommendation is if we start him out what he would be at, then there's no way he would take essentially a pay cut.
Okay.
The reason
to appoint somebody and have them get a pay cut.
Yeah, the reason why we justified that middle ground is because essentially he's doing more work now as his two roles have kind of merged into one.
That's where we came up with the
That's where we
median
came up with the median number, just as a starting point, as a jumping off point, say, hey, we realize he's doing more, but understand that, hey, once you get the position, if you were to get the position, then it's gonna be based off years of experience, and that's a calculation that'll be done through HR, and our hands are kind of off that. So yes, it may go backwards, but I wouldn't classify it as a decrease in pay. You're essentially changing the orientation of what his job actually is. You're going from two jobs to one, and then that is what that's paying. So I see the concern, and that's why we decided to bring that
There
second.
may not be a great deal of difference in those two numbers.
Honestly, there might not be
Also,
a difference in those two numbers. But with Sherry being out, it was hard to get the exact two numbers, so it's more of a principle on how you want to tackle it moving forward.
And it's retroactive back.
Yes, of course.
The question also came up to us to approach to Eric if it is appropriate to him as to whether he wants the retroactive amount. At this point in time, that could be a major tax hit, okay, to back that up and get that all at once at this point. That, I'm just saying, I think that should
Or
be
it may
left.
be advantageous to take it before the year end too.
Or it might be, yeah.
If he winds up with a larger salary for the complete year next year.
Yeah, but there could be tax ramifications
Well,
for
yeah,
getting an extra 2
I
months.
don't
of
know when
that
payroll
back.
is. I don't know when payroll will probably be done this week.
Well, they could run a special,
They could run
I'm sure, for this, because this is retro, so
That certainly would be retroactive pay,
Yeah.
but if he wanted to,
at least the retro portion of it up to a certain point, whatever that may be.
right.
I like the median pay because he's doing more than just the interim city manager at this point.
Is that in some form of a motion?
That isn't, I motion that we pay him the medium of the two salaries that we have.
Support.
Okay, we have motion support. With that on the table, could we have a number? What the median is? Do we have that?
Yes, we have that
I mean, it'd be
number.
nice, we
It's
should know
108.
what the number is.
Yeah.
108 and change.
It was 107 and change. It was
107,
yep, it was
almost
107 and
108,
change. It was
yeah.
almost 108.
96 something to 123 something, I think, it worked out to just about, yeah,
So 107,
change.
Is that the addendum?
Did you want to consider an employment agreement, is what I was asking? Which is what you did with Matt.
yeah, there should be
A
some sort
letter
of
of
agreement
appointment.
written up with this, yeah.
Which includes this.
Do we have one prepared, or?
Funny thing.
Sarah has it for us. I think you shared that with us, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, you
This is the one I
shared.
shared with the personnel committee.
Yeah.
I did bring copies for everyone if you want
Oh, here,
to
let's-
send them down that way.
Oh, you don't get it.
I know.
No, I can't.
That's just best.
You don't need to know this.
So,
I got one more than I need.
There's two here.
And this is just a form that we did with Matt.
That's not for you, don't look at
For the
it.
most part, it's this. It just, yeah, we just updated it. It has a blank for the salary and it has Eric's name. But it's essentially the same. And I guess that would be up to you if you wanted to make it 3 months, since we're already 3 months into the deal, or if you,
I
That would be something to
mean,
consider.
according to section 2A, we can terminate this at any time at our pleasure, so there's no risk in having it run for 6 months, because it's our option to terminate, so. I don't think
That
there's
just
any-
forces us to decide the 6 months.
Well, 6 months is the maximum allowed
Yeah,
by
right.
charter, that we can do this, I believe.
yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there any reason to maybe, if it gets extended again, that we re-look at the salary, or maybe an increase, or a 5% increase, or a 2% increase, based on the fact that if we're going to extend the interim appointment a little bit longer, is it common practice to also increase? I don't know, I'm asking
I
to
don't think we
increase.
can go over 6 months.
Yeah, everything's on the table at that.
You can go up to 6 months, and then up to 6 months, we'd essentially have to, we'd have to do it again.
Oh, I see.
And I'm saying, if we do it again, if we're saying, hey, Eric, maybe we don't have someone for him to interview against, and we say, hey, we're gonna push you through this again, I think financially, there needs to be also an increase
And
at that
There'll be a
time.
discussion at that time when the
Yeah.
new agreement is on the table.
Okay, so you can do that at that time instead of,
We can
okay.
do whatever the commission wants, that's.
Do I have to?
And friendly amendment that this is the actual appointment agreement.
And then the salary to be inserted into this agreement
Yeah.
is part of your motion, is that what I'm understanding?
Motion is to approve this salary agreement.
The employment agreement with the salary as the 107 and change that they have developed.
With the salary included, that's a median.
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
top and
Right.
bottom.
Yes.
Exactly. I think that was the intent, and I guess
That's what
that
it
is your intent, then.
Yes.
Okay. Because we have,
Sorry,
we have
she
trouble
did-
sometimes with intent.
No,
so-
she did send us this, and I didn't
Okay,
mention that in my first motion. So yes, I would like to do with this with this agreement, the median of the 107 and change.
okay. So we have that. The support came from
Me.
Okay, Roger.
Roger. Okay, and you're okay with that as well, Roger?
Yes.
That was your intention as well? Okay. Now, any additional comments or questions?
Is that gonna be open then for Eric to choose whether he wants it, what Roger's comment was, whether he wants it this year or next year, the first of this
The
year?
retro pay? Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
can work that out with Curtis,
Okay,
however.
but we're giving him the freedom
That's
to do that.
procedural, that would be,
He could just do that, okay, that's all.
assuming it is.
I didn't know if it needed to be in the motion or if it could procedural.
But you may not have, talk to your tax advisor and
Yeah.
whatever is most beneficial for you, obviously,
Yes.
would be the way to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we do have a motion support on the table. All those in favor be yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Any opposed is no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Yeah. Sorry it took us so long.
And yeah,
I
Eric, I'm
apologize.
sorry
Yes.
about that.
Our
That's-
apologies.
That's,
Okay, now that we paid the city manager, well, appropriations will pay everybody else we owe money to. Any
Move to pay the
interest?
appropriations.
We do have interest.
Support.
And we have support. Any questions or comments about appropriations? Hearing none, those in favor would be yes.
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 Opposed is no. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Commissioner comments. Michelle, why don't you go first?
Happy New Year.
And,
Happy New Year.
okay, short and sweet. Nick?
The same, be safe and well this new year. Hope for good health next year. For everyone.
For everyone, yeah, the whole world. Roxanne?
I just wanted to mention, we had our Water Authority meeting on December 10th, and it was a clean audit for GAWA. No findings, no deficiencies, no internal control issues, a very clean audit, and that, a lot of that can be because of Bobby in St. Louis, and she is very prepared, and Ally said she gets most of the information to them way ahead of the audit, so they just kind of come in and do the technicalities at the for a one-day thing because gets everything to him beforehand. So grateful for Bobby and just wanted to share that clean audit. Yeah.
Good news.
Very good.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And perhaps in the future, we probably should have that included in our report section
Okay.
so that after a meeting, we get regular updates from that. And
Yeah, it's, once the initial build, there was a lot going on in the beginning,
Yeah.
and now it's
now it's operational.
basically
So it's-
cap and wells. John and his report, I try to really, he has got the most soothing voice, and it's, at lunchtime, and I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to stay awake. So, yeah, I am, but we also are now going back to, in person, we've been virtual, but now that the, the return to non-declaration of emergency status in Gratiot County ends next month, so we'll be back to in-person.
And
And
again, the return to non-declaration status.
non-declaration of emergency status in Gratiot County.
Interesting
So,
terminology.
yes, yes.
What's a non-declaration? I didn't mean that.
So we meet the second Friday of the month at noon. We're looking into either the library or City Hall, so,
Perfect.
which makes it tricky. It was, quite frankly, nice to be able to sit at my desk at work and just log in on my phone. But I
It has
I should
advantages
still.
and disadvantages,
It
doesn't
does,
it?
it does, yeah.
Well, thank you for
Yes, yes,
reports.
yes, and Happy New Year.
Anything
That's all, thanks.
Okay. Well, please pass our appreciation on to Bobby
Yes.
and the team over in St. Louis that's achieved that for us. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, she's
Great news.
excellent.
And my understanding, I don't know if there's still a commitment going on, but.
Well, that
she's
was the other
also
thing, they said
mentoring-
Alma is still running payroll of GAWA, and St. Louis is the accounting and the administration. So we're employees of GAWA here at Alma, just for
Right.
payroll, but Bobby does the rest of it. I don't know how long we made an agreement, or
I would assume as long as we have the skilled person
Forever.
doing it over there.
as long as Bobby's
Yeah.
willing
It
to
ain't
do
broke,
it,
don't fix
we're
it.
grateful
I
to,
don't-
yeah,
that was done,
yes,
who knows?
yeah.
I don't think we want to go there right now.
Well, I think it was done post-fill. It was during, was it done
It's like-
before?
it's like-
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mad.
Yeah.
4 years ago, 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Danny.
Just Happy New Year to everyone, and see you next year.
You'll be here soon.
Yes.
Roger.
May 2022 be better than 2021. Please.
Set the bar a little bit higher.
Little bit higher. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right. Sarah.
No, thank you.
Eric?
Just city offices will be closed this Friday for New Year's Eve day. Since New Year's Day falls on a Saturday, it's the previous day before, so New Year's Eve day is our New Year's Day off. So
You did that for Christmas too, right?
yes, we did. Yep. So that the notice is on the doors, it's on our website. We'll have something on the library sign also. So just let everybody know that we will not be open this Friday.
Thank you. Echo what everybody else said. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's hope it's a better, safer New Year for everybody, and this COVID thing goes away. We can get back to some level of normalcy, whatever that may be. So, with that, we'll open the floor to the members of the public. If anybody would like to address the commission, please go step to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts. Who would like to be first? Please.
And my question's for you, Roxanne. I'm John Lemmerman. And I'm just hearing what you just said about the declaration of non-state of emergency. If the county would go back to declaring a state of emergency, could you go back to doing Zoom meetings? Okay, so that's the key element
Yes.
in that?
But it's part of the main part of it, I believe, as far as my
That's
understanding.
my understanding.
Okay. That was my only question.
And Mr. Lemmerman, I don't think we've had the pleasure, but I believe you are one of our county commissioners representing the city as well? Okay. So welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we haven't had the opportunity to meet in these COVID-stricken times, but
I've been to a few meetings here, but I've always been, the meeting room has been packed, and I've been out in the lobby back there.
well, it's a good thing. We like to have public here, so
Right.
we're
Thank
glad
you for
to, but yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Anything to tell us about?
No.
And don't you forget it.
Guess not.
I guess not.
Well, perhaps you would like to go to the podium behind the commission here.
I know nothing.
Would anyone else like to address the commission? Anybody else? No? Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
We have motion support. All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed to be no? Looks like the motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great New Year's. Stay safe.
Happy New Year.
All right, it was just, I was
Yeah, he
just,
said you were gonna.
Happy
I was
New
gonna
Year.
run over those before. And
Certainly not a motion tonight, but-
anyway, like whatever.